Great stories are never complete without great visuals to back it up. And so today's start story comes to us from Staysean Daley, founder of Kraas Images, whose intention is to allow creatives all over the world to tell the authentic Caribbean story using stills and illustrations that they can buy for commercial use at the touch of a button. So Staysean, welcome.
Thank you.
You are the illustrious founder of Kraas Images. But before we even get into what Kraas Images is and all of the fantastic things that you've accomplished, tell us a little bit more about yourself, about when you were younger. What was little Staysean like?
I was grown by artistic parents, so even though I wasn't encouraged in my younger years to be an artist, it was always still something that was done just as a regular thing. I know in university I made a little extra thing on the side by doing prints, because everyone would wait until last minute to get their midterm work or whatever done and printed, and then the print lab would always be filled. So I bought myself a printer, and I was a 24-hour print shop. It was quite good. It was quite good. So in terms of being entrepreneurial, it wasn't known as being an entrepreneur. Then it wasn't trending, but you just know, as Jamaicans say, we always just do a little hustle.
Nice. So you're always on the hustle. So outside of your print thing that you attempted in school, did you make any other attempts of doing any kind of business or hustle?
Well, in, let's see, 2008, I started Kraas Designs.
Okay.
That was kind of like a tumble. I shouldn't say I started, I tumbled into it. My mother had passed away, and I really wanted to work without seeing anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. But of course, the bills kept coming. So at the time, I was working for Incomex. So I left the advertising agency. I went to Incomex for a couple months, and then that didn't work out for me. And then I started Kraas Designs, and Incomex became my first client. And that's how I tumbled into Kraas Designs, and it just happened just out of, really just wanting to not work around anybody. I didn't want to be around anybody at the time.
So how did you find that transition? So we're going to talk about you transitioning into start Kraas Images, but how did you find that transition from actually working for an agency, working for Incomex, to tumbling into this new business venture?
To be honest, I have a very bad habit of not thinking things through, right? And I would not recommend that for anyone. So at the time, I don't recall thinking about the transition, like, oh gosh, what am I going to do? I did not think about it. I wasn't comfortable where I was, and I just started it. So I didn't feel like I was losing out. I didn't feel any burden or any stress to start this company. It didn't feel like I was starting a company. It literally felt like I'm just going to work from home and do some design on my yard, and then they're going to pay me. And so there really wasn't a thing through with it at all until maybe like 2 years into it, you kind of realize, oh, so this is actually sustaining my life, and I have to do it. And
so you didn't realize?
I know it sounds weird, and I have a friend that I told this to once, and she said to me, but you're crazy. How did you do that? But because design was my thing, I already had a computer, I had a printer, I had everything that I needed to start. I had my capital. So it didn't feel like I was doing anything out of the ordinary. I simply was just working from home. So maybe 2 years down the line, I wanted to buy property. And I realized, okay, what I'm making won't be able to sustain a car, a house, and a property, another property. So I sold the car, bought property, and I started my master's in art education. And so I was without a car. I think probably that was where it started, and I realized that I'm really, working for myself. And so you realize you kind of start to have to cut down on some things if you want to still do the other things he did when he had a little luxurious 9 to 5.
No fromage.
Right, just a fro. So, but literally for me, apart from that, I really didn't have any difficulty in any transition. I really just didn't think about it. That's horrible. But I really did think, like when I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, what? But I didn't think about it.
I mean, you feel like it's horrible, but do you think that that made it easier for you since you weren't really stressing about a lot of the things that other people who are trying to start their entrepreneurship journey, they're worrying about how will I pay for this and how will I live, and do you think that made it easier maybe?
But I had to think, I think because of the reason I started Kraas Design was out of wanting to work from home, not being around people. That was just my basis, and once that was covered, I think everything else flowed for me. So I still had to worry about bills, and I still had to worry about feeding myself, and I still had to worry about where I was living. But for whatever reason, it didn't seem like a burden at the time, because the burden I had at that time was way heavier, which was losing my mom. So I was so engrossed in that everything else just followed after. The bill have to pay, it will pay. It just wasn't something I thought about.
Right, because the bigger objective was accomplished, so
exactly.
you were happy. All right, fantastic. So, well, we're at Kraas Images now and not Kraas Design. So, what happened?
So that transition was hard because I did treat it like Kraas Design. I thought, oh, can just do this, and it was really difficult because I had no idea what I was doing, and I knew I didn't have any idea what I was doing, But I expected it to be similar to Kraas Designs in terms of easing into it.
Right.
And then you realize, okay, it wasn't just me. I had Christopher Birch, who was my founding partner. And then we realized, oh, but we have to deal with photographers. So then we had to deal with photographers, we had to deal with illustrators, we had to deal with legality. It was so much more, it was more of a community. It's a community. Unlike Kraas Designs was just totally dependent on me. Kraas Images is a community, and so it took way more energy. It has taken way more energy, has taken way more time into getting into it. And I think a couple months, so we had started the idea maybe about 2012. And
what spurred the idea?
What spurred the idea? Apart from the fact that when I moved back home, so I was working in Miami, Florida. That's where I did my degree for graphic design. And I worked there for a year at a TV station, and it never dawned on me anything about stock photography because the market, that audience, stock suited that audience.
Right.
Moved back to Jamaica. The stock photography no longer suited the audience, but we did a lot of photo shoots, and I always wonder why we have to do this. And the clients are always crying, it's too expensive, it's too expensive. And then when I started my own thing, I was working with Flow, and they were doing a building leaders campaign, and they wanted a classroom with children in a school uniform. So in America, in Europe, they don't do uniforms like we do really, and right. And I had to call, at the time, I'm good friends with Jeremy Francis, who is one of our contributors. So I called him, I wasn't even in Jamaica. And I called him, I was like, I need a picture with a little girl in a uniform. He's like, okay. And I called some friends, got a little girl in a uniform, got Jeremy to shoot it, put the image in, finished the campaign, they paid for it. And then I said to Christopher, so why we can't just do this like as a thing?
Right.
And the sweet soul, he's like, sure. I'm like, well, if Chris said we can do it, then we can do it.
Right.
And that's really how it started. And we didn't start with a website, again, because we didn't know what we were doing. I probably shouldn't be publicizing that, but we didn't know what we were doing. In our head, it was just a website, and we're going to sell images.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you just think, you just download a template, and you just put it together. Jeez, so wrong. But that's really how it started. So we started selling images through email. We had.
So how would that work? They would see the image, order.
Right. So at the time, I was doing some work for Jampro, and then I was telling them about Kraas Images. And at the time, what's her name? Kim, I can't remember. I know her name is Kim. I can't remember her last name. So I was telling Kim, and Kim would be telling persons that, oh, you want images, then man, you can ask Staysean. And so I would just get random requests in my email.
Hey,
Do you have this? And then I'll ask the photographers I knew, do you have this image? And if they did, then I'll tell it. If they didn't, then I just didn't have it.
Okay.
And we started to ramp up a really good ask. And I was like, boy, Chris, we could really just try doing a website. And so we rolled out a website that didn't quite work. And we got our first sale. Put up a website. Oh, people are clicking. Oh my God, somebody bought something. Okay, maybe this is something we really should do. And from that, we started to build out from there. And actually have a fully functioning working site.
That
Fully functioning
downloads.
site that downloads your images.
So you said, okay, you didn't feel pressured at all to like start something. Why didn't you feel, I mean, everybody is panicked about something. Why didn't you feel pressured?
I feel pressured now,
Okay.
doing Kraas images. But as I said, for Kraas designs, it was under different circumstance.
Right.
And for me, my pressure then was living without my mother.
Ah.
So what could be worse than living without your mother? It's certainly not worrying about no work.
Hell, certainly not.
So it's just different. Now I feel pressured, and I feel more pressured now because I have a community that's depending on me. It's not just Staysean. It's the photographers, the illustrators, my business partner, my potential investors. You know, everyone is now a part of this community. And I have to answer to them. So I just have to do it. And that's why I feel more pressure now than I did with Kraas Designs. I had more control. It was just me doing the work.
You did as much as you wanted to do, or as little as you wanted to
Exactly.
do. All right, so you have a whole community depending on you. But
Right.
I think you have been progressing quite nicely. This year, congratulations, you won the Pitch It Caribbean 3.0.
Why, thank you.
Yes,
Yay, me.
yes, US dollars, US dollars for shiz. So you've come all of this way. What keeps you inspired?
That's a really good question. And I ask myself that almost every week. I would say daily, but almost every week. And honestly, I am not sure what keeps the fire burning, because it's as if I've wanted to stop before and I can't seem to stop.
Is this something you truly love? Do you believe that this is your passion?
Creative is my passion. I love creating. I love designing. I love photography. And Kraas Images does kind of put those two together. So while I'm not designing in Kraas Images, I am providing content for persons to do their best designs. And I don't know, it's actually really fun. I get it's like how you call it, a bittersweet, because some days I really do get frustrated. And especially after Christopher Birch died, that was one of those points where like, all right, let me just fold this up and put it away. And even then his wife was like, no, you know how many sleepless nights my husband had doing this, you better finish it.
You can't give it up.
Exactly. So, but apart from that, there's just something, I don't know. It's just something I can't stop. And I don't think things through, I almost have this other habit that I have to finish things. I feel like Kraas Images isn't finished. It hasn't met its ultimate curve or its height. And I just have to get it there. I don't know why I have to get it there, but I just have to get it there. For some strange reason, I have to get it there.
Well, I'm happy you brought up the idea of height, because the next question that I have for you is, where do you believe you are right now, and what's next for Kraas?
I still don't believe I've hit any kind of, which is probably not good to say.
That you haven't hit any kind of what?
In my mind of where I want Kraas Images to be, I don't think I feel like I'm on a momentum right now, and I feel like
You are not, you haven't achieved, you, Cross Images isn't where you thought you are or where you want to be in your mind.
right. So in my head, in my vision of Cross Images, I feel like we have a really long journey to go. We have so many things to do. I have so many things right now we need to fix that it doesn't feel like the website, right?
Not the website.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
But but even that needs upgraded, you know? That I feel like, okay, while we're still going, we're not at a pivotal point just yet. I haven't hit that bell just yet. And that's not the final bell either. I'm just talking about one milestone I'm having in my head up there, so
That you're trying to
that
hit.
I'm trying to hit, and I haven't gotten there yet. So right now, I still think we are still at early stage, and we need to increase our content and to get the Caribbean region involved more.
All right, so what is the most important lesson you've learned, Staysean? What is that? What is that?
I think the most important, it's not one of the most important lessons I've learned is that I can't just always work.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so I know nowadays, I went to an event earlier this year, and quite a few, and everybody talks about these long hours and burning the midnight oil and work, 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 work.
Rihanna. Work. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you have to be persistent. I'm not saying that you must be persistent and you mustn't be determined, but you also must sleep.
Yes, that's very important.
Right? I know some persons are on their 4-hour sleep. I'm a 8-hour sleep kind of girl.
Hallelujah.
And while there are some days you have to shorten it, it's not my lifestyle.
It's not the default.
Yes, and I make sure I do my best to take my weekends to do non-work things. Doesn't always happen, but it's my aim. So on the weekend, I do things with my friends and my family, and I relax and do absolutely nothing like a normal person. I think that's one of the most important things I've learned, because, as I said, there've been times where you burn out.
What words of inspiration would you give to a creative watching there who wants the nut?
I think what I'd want to tell an entrepreneur, anyone who wants to be a budding entrepreneur, just remember that this is your journey, and everyone's journey is different.
Amen.
And that applies for our life, and it applies for business. And I know nowadays people talk about like there's a structure to being an entrepreneur. So you're going to get up and you're going to think about this business, and the business must have a name and a logo, right?
And a business plan.
And you're going to do your business plan, and you're going to do your business model, and you go through all of these things. And then now, before you do all of that, you need investors and you need board members, and then that is when you have a business. Now, some of us are lucky to have parents who have been entrepreneurs, who can guide them, who can even give them a little starting fund in US dollars to begin. Some of us do not. Some of us have to keep our 9 to 5 to support their dreams, and then you leave after a while. So there's no one way to do it. There's also, you still have to do things quickly, but you still have to do it on your time. Don't compare yourself to John or
Jane.
Or, you understand? Don't follow Agatha.
No.
Because Agatha's father probably own a very big company, and she's been walking around with him looking on how to run a business. And so she'll get there faster than you. So that would be my advice. It is your journey. You're competing with yourself. And you go as fast as you should be going. And don't look at what everybody else is doing. Some people going bust in a 6 months, some people going bust in a 1 year. You might not bust till 10 years' time. And I also understand that Jamaica, our system, the system, also does not give us a very soft cushion. Doesn't give us a cushion at all for failure. And maybe that would be my second thing. I got squeezing the second one. Don't be afraid to fail. It sounds very cliche, but it's actually it's very important to not feel like the first idea you have or that you've tried is it. And if this doesn't work, then your life done. Your life not done. You're going to live and you're going to be just fine, and you'll have another idea and might be better than. Exactly. So it's your journey. You have to remember that. And don't be afraid of failing. I know Jamaica, right, so I was saying the system. So there might be a system now where if you register for 2 years, if you're a company, if you don't, if you register for more than 2 years, you have to start paying this minimum business tax.
Right.
No, I have no problem paying taxes. Taxes are great, even though I still have potholes on my road. But what the system says when it does that, to me, and in my opinion, it says after 2 years, if your company isn't making any money, you have failed, because now you'd have to find this money out of your pocket instead of the business.
Right.
So then, a 30, do not register your company until you are ready. Do not register for GCT until you are ready, because they will come for you. Yes, because GCT, they come for me.
Staysean, maybe that should be like a whole other series. All the things that went wrong for Jamaica.
Oh my gosh. Anyway. But yes, I think that's it. I think I gave 3 just now. But seriously, don't register until you're absolutely ready to register, because it's expensive, and if your company isn't making enough money, I mean, unless you have it in your pocket to keep doing until, I think it's something you should sit and think about a little bit. When is the right time to register? Why am I registering? Before you go ahead and do so. Or register as a sole trader first, and then to a company.
All right, fantastic advice. Last thing, shout outs. Anybody?
Who me want for big up?
Yes.
I think I have to big up my A1 Day 1 photographer, Jeremy Francis.
Okay. Big up yourself, Jeremy.
He was there before I knew what I was doing, to know where I kind of know what I'm doing, and he's been super supportive of me and of my dream. It's not something I find often. I want to big up all of my aunts who fed me when I didn't have money to buy food.
That is
Oh
so
gosh,
important.
that is, you have
So
no
important.
idea. I would go to my aunt's house, BED Enterprise, that's a family joke, she'll know what I'm talking about. BED Enterprise, I'll go there and I'll shop, I take out my plastic bag, and I go into her pantry, be like, okay, go in the fridge, tomato, and when I leave with bags and I leave with food to eat.
Wow.
Yes.
Shopping.
I went shopping at the woman's house, and I have another aunt that we call Auntie, and she feeds me regularly, and she helps me with my healthy eating, because I don't eat meat, and I'm something that's kind of hard to beg when you don't eat everything, you know. And she actually cooks with that in mind for me, and that is definitely, it's amazing, and I definitely have to give thanks for those people. I have to big up Tanya Batson Savage. We met through the Branson Centre entrepreneurship program, and she's been an incredible support. Miserable, sir, but she has been an incredible friend, incredible support, and I give thanks for her. I give thanks for Srika Maga, who's my accountant. You know, the people that with the money, you have to big them up.
All the way.
Yeah, and all my photographers who are currently on board and who are planning to come on board, I'm going to bring you up in advance, because without them, without the creatives, we don't have Kraas Imaging.
And on that note, start with what you have, where you can, and just make it happen. You've heard it from Staysean Daley at Kraas. Find an auntie to feed you in the meantime if you need to, but whatever it is that you have to do, your vision is worth bringing to life. You just need to